Hello! Hello, Ragnarok Galaxy. This is Koron, also known as Kor the Lore Troll, and on the modded server, I'm Treya. Uh, I am going to be showing you a tutorial for the Brewery plugin for our Light RP vanilla server. So, this is the Spire of Smith, and here you'll see the Cloud Drake Brewing Company. Our motto is, a drake in every bottle. So, the Brewery plugin. The Brewery plugin is a really good plugin that allows you to add booze to the game. Different types of brews, liquors, vodka, drinks. Not all alcoholic, but all need to be brewed in this fashion. Now, this is very different from the actual brewing of potions. So, the jobs and MCMMO that we have also in the Light RP server will not be counted and gaining levels with this kind of brewing. That is just a disclaimer right now, and I'll probably be showing other tutorials in the future. You can go to our website and see a list of brewing under the Minecraft forum, general communications, and you'll see a list of different brews that you can try to figure out. This is a mainly experimental plugin, so that means that you have the general idea of what it would be involved in making this, and then from that, you experiment with how much and how long you brew things, if you distill things, if you age things in barrels and with the distilling units and with the cauldrons. And that's how you figure out how the recipes are. With this, you'll have a denotation of how much you got it right, or how close you are to the exact recipe. With such things as bitter ale and fine ale as an example. So, today I will be showing you the recipe for wheat beer. It is a light resource beer that doesn't have a lot of oomph behind it in the forms of alcohol, but it does brew for a little bit and can be aged in barrels. The only thing will not be showing is distillation, but I will be explaining it in detail. So, this is the Cloud Drake setup. The Cloud Drake Brewing Company setup. I have chat on because some things with the townie also mess with the chat, and some things in Brewery also need to have the chat on to see, which I'll be showing you. So, you can make barrels out of all different types of wooden staircases, but they all need the barrel sign in order to be created. Now, this is an extra spruce barrel that I made beforehand. As you can see, it has this barrel sign and has 8 spruce staircases in it. As you can see, every barrel is made this way, and it all becomes a sort of chest, kind of, and has a barrel tag on it. And as you can see, you store potions and beer in them. And you store all types of beer in it. So, before we get down to everything, we're going to put in our ingredients. So you right-click on the cauldron with your ingredients, and they should get this extinguishing fire noise. And you will have put it in for fermentation, as it's called, into the cauldron. This is the way to start it. And if you have a clock, a golden clock, you can right-click a cauldron, and you can see how much time has passed. Now, we're going to let this ferment for 8 minutes, and then take it out with glass bottles. And what we're trying to attempt is to make fine wheat beer. Now, there are many different types of recipes, and while we don't have the exact recipes on the website, we have generally what goes into the beer, and if you have to age and distill it. Now, there are multiple different types of different drinks and alcohol. We have, I believe, 48 different recipes. Some of them similar, some of them different. We are still in the process of tweaking and remaking and making them. So not all these recipes will be able to be made immediately, such as the gin. We're still tweaking that one to be able to be made. But there are different types of gin that you should be able to make right now, such as the deep sea gin and the blue gin. So, while we wait for these guys to go, let me tell you more about the barrels. So, you saw how they were made, and you saw that they're each different types of wood. Now, why are they each different types of wood? So, different brews and different beers require to be put into different types of barrels. So there are different beers here. Some of them can be put into any barrel that you need, but there are some recipes that need a specific barrel. And sadly, you're going to have to experiment about which is which. What I generally like to do is take 3 of these different empty bottles. Not 3 empty bottles, but 3 full bottles of your test brew. Once you think you got the ratio right of what you need, I like to put them in, put 1 into each different barrel, and then go from there. And you will see on the brew how close you are. How will you see that, you ask? Well, as you can see, strong tequila right here. You can see here that there is a list of ingredients, fermentation, distillation, age, and wood type. Now, the way that this works is that there will be ingredients, and it can go from red, as you see in the barrel age, to the green that you see with everything else. The ingredients are how much you put into the cauldron for fermentation. And that can be done in many different ways. The fermentation is how long you've let it cook in the cauldron before taking it out. Distillation is how many times it's been distilled in a brewing stand before being put into a barrel. Now, aging is in red, and you see that because tequila isn't supposed to be aged that long according to the recipe in Brewery. But aging a drink that needs to be aged in a barrel for more than it is aged doesn't actually ruin the drink. But if you put a drink that's not supposed to be aged in a barrel, it will ruin it. And then you'll see wood type, and that is specific to the different type of barrel that it needs to be. As you can see, it's all in green, so tequila needs all these different things to be made into strong tequila. So, looking back on it, just double checking these, 5 minutes. All right. And as you remember, I said that we're going to boil these for 8 minutes. So we only need 3 more minutes to go before putting these into barrels. Now, there are some brews that can be put immediately into barrels from the cauldrons and the fermentation process. These are non-distilled brews. But there are distilled brews such as absinthe, vodka, gin, all the different types of gin, really. And they need to be put into a distillation unit or a brewery stand. As you can see, I have Pirate Speak on, so they call it a rum barrel. Now, the way that a distillation stand works is that you just need to put glowstone powder in the top. You don't even need to put multiple pieces of glowstone powder at the top. It acts as a filter and is not used during distillation. But you put your bottles of rum in the bottom, and while it's not distilling, as you can see, it'll brew for a max number of times as the max number of times in the recipe. What that means is if you put a 3 times distilled in the brewing stand, it won't distill more than 3 times, but it will distill those 3 times. So you have to wait until it says 3 times distilled on the little list that you see with the brew. It'll show it in the brewing stand and in the barrel, but not anywhere else. So, and you don't even need a blaze powder to run it, which is what an updated version of Minecraft, you need blaze powder to brew potions. You don't need that here. All you need is that glowstone powder in the top, and you're good to go. Now let's check on our cauldrons to see if we have any. 7 minutes. Looks good, looks good. 7 minutes for everything, so we just need 1 more minute. So rapid fire round. So, personally, I like to have a bunch of different barrels here with all the wood types. And as you can see here, even down here, I have a bunch of different barrels showing all the different wood types. And that makes it easy to store different beers and let them just age and get them stronger. Aging a beer actually can be beneficial. Normally, what I originally thought was that it was just prestige. Oh, looks like something happened here. Don't know what happened here, but that's what will happen if a barrel gets broken. It will leak all the beer out and become not a barrel. That was a good option to show you. Not sure what happened there, but I'll be prepared in the future. So don't damage your barrels. So these are 8 minutes. Let's bring it out right now. And specifically for wheat beer, you're going to need a bunch of birch barrels, as that's the specific brew that needs to be put in for wheat beer. So this fermented wheat potion you put inside the birch barrel, and then you shall make wheat beer. Now it is very important to get the fermentation right, as well as the ingredients, or else you're going to end up with a not so good wheat beer. But, you know, to each their own. Looks like this barrel is not made, so I'll check that. That was probably the error there. So I'll put them down in here. Oops, looks like we got whiskey. Looks like I'm having a little bit of a storage problem down here. I'll have to clean them out. Okay. Fermented wheat, just enough. Sorry about that, folks. Anyway, so that's the distillation process. And then you take it out after the distillation. I'm only showing you with empty bottles because I don't actually have a distilled recipe that would show distillation and age that can be done in such a short time of 8 minutes. So after that, you age it, and aging actually allows the beer to become better. And what I mean by that is that it will take the beer that's a crappy beer, and as it ages, it can actually go up in levels. So a crap beer will turn into a normal beer, and which will turn into a fine beer, depending on how long you actually age it, and depending if you got it just right. It is a very experimental and touchy plugin, so if you get it wrong, you might not get a good of a beer. That's just how it is. You just need to perfect it and test. And that's what I've done. So, there are many different types of beer, as I said. You can make multiple times. You need to ferment it, sometimes distill it, and sometimes age it. But all of them can be used to get completely shit-faced. Now, I'm going to drink some of this fine beer that fell out of that barrel over there, and I will show you what being drunk does to you. Now, these fine beers aren't really doing anything. They're a little light. They don't poison you, but some things actually do. And if you have the right permissions, you can do /brew info. And you can see I'm 18% drunk with a quality of 8. And beer will do that, but rum will get you 28% drunk in a single drink. And we do have rum on the server. And that's just an example right there. You can stumble and be kind of thrown across the room, which is a little bit dangerous to have on the Spire. But, so normally, you can just type normally in chat, but /brew info, you can get a nausea effect. But now I'm 34% drunk. I'll say, hello, I am recording a brewery tutorial. Yup, and you can see that it has messed with my chat. It'll also do this with commands, and it'll also do this if you try to write signs. It'll do random things, and sometimes it'll ignore your message entirely and show a hiccup or a burp. And that's just how it is. So just be careful with commands while doing drunken antics. But it is fun to do, and sometimes you get nausea, which is what's showing up on my screen right now. If you die with a status effect on you, You will get rid of the status effect, but you won't get rid of the drunkenness. And be wary if you are drinking way too much, as drinking way too much can cause you to disconnect from the server. And if you disconnect from the server for multiple hours after drinking too much, you can be warped to a random location and quote unquote wake up there. Or if you go for a couple more hours, you'll wake up at your home, your bed spawn, or just normal spawn, and that's where you woke up from your night of heavy drinking. I hope that this has helped you in your brewery tutorial, and I cannot wait to see all the different brews that get brought up on the server. Thank you for watching, and have a nice time.